You went to India. Tell me about your search for the immortal yogis. I've done a lot of programs on our divine right to be immortal. We are programmed on a cellular structure to live forever.
We really are, and it's our belief systems and our conditioning that causes death. And the journey is really, it's a heartfelt journey, and one has to have tenacity and courage to really, especially us men in the West. I mean, we're raised to be, macho and to provide and take care of, and we're not raised to really express our feelings and to examine why I'm getting angry, or why I'm upset, and it always goes back to unprocessed emotions.
Right.
And as we process more and more our emotions, it opens us up to having more and more light. And when we're in India and we're traveling around, I'm telling you, magic happens. The Immortal Siddhas are available to all of us.
Well, tell me what that means. I know immortal, but what is siddhas?
A siddha is, one way of describing it is completely boiled or completely cooked or completely done, meaning that their personal transformation from 3D influence and realities has allowed them to move to a different level or state of being, in which the distinctions between the mind and the body have dissolved, which then time and distance also dissolve. So they can come and go with a physical body.
They've completed their human karma, and they've gotten off the wheel of life. So they exist now in the body. Some of them are still here.
Just like Jesus.
Right, Jesus was an immortal
Jesus is an immortal siddha. So is Elijah and Ezekiel.
In India, there's a living tradition of that. I mean, Jesus, Elijah, they lived thousands of years ago, 2,000 some. But in India, there are still people around now that you found that are immortals. And tell me about who'd you find, and what did they kind of knowledge?
I think that through our past life connection, Bhoganathar, who is Babaji's teacher.
And Babaji is probably the most famous of the Immortal Siddhas.
Bhoganathar installed a Navapashanam statue of Lord Subramunya, which is Lord Shiva's oldest son, in a temple in Palani in South India. And Bhoganathar took Jeeva Samadhi, which is the term used to describe when the physical body dissolves into light while alive. It turns into light, and that light beams somewhere. And that's considered the Jeeva Samadhi doorway, or the dimensional portal that light, that physical body light beams into. So those are very, very powerful locations, and we find those and then meditate in a close proximity to those locations.
Yeah, what do you feel at those locations?
It's very powerful.
What happens in your body?
Well, let's talk about Mayamma.
Okay, Mayamma's a woman?
Yeah, she's a female saint. She lived in the body for 440 years. So the area that she beam into light is in a small room. So when we walk into that place, the energy was so strong we couldn't even move.
Really?
We got pushed back, literally. The moment when I sat down and meditate, I hear her voice right away. She has such a loud, wild voice.
She's like a Abahoot.
Yeah, she's going to make the noise now.
Okay, make the
It's
noise.
Wah, 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 wah.
This is
That's what she sounded like.
It's
Wow.
really loud, but you can feel that it is like a childlike energy and very intense.
So she's a real wild woman who's like on another level.
She has many cities. So for many years, she was swimming in the tip of India, South India, where the three oceans meet. She will be gone for hours.
under the water.
under the water.
Really?
And then all of a sudden she would just jump out like a mermaid and laughing very wildly.
How did you even know, though, that Immortal Siddhas existed? I mean, not many people are even clued in. Like, what was the, when you're coming from that world,
Sure.
regular world, the whole idea of immortality, how did that hit you as even possible? Because there's people listening and saying,
I read books that talked about Kaya Kalpa. Kaya Kalpa is described in a variety of ways. One way is that you go into a cave, you take certain secret herbs, and over 3 months in darkness, without eating, and taking these herbs, the body like sheds, like skin and fingernails and teeth, and then like a time-lapse camera, everything grows back and you walk out looking 50 years younger.
wow. And you've seen this.
I haven't seen it, but I read about it a lot.
You have to know the right herbs to take.
Exactly. So I started, when I read this, I mean, it resonated with me as absolutely true and possible for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that started me looking. However, in the beginning, it was more of an ego trip than it was the understanding that my heartfelt journey guided me to, which was to stay alive long enough to dissolve into light.
That's your goal, is to dissolve into light.
If if they want me to.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't they want you to?
I don't know, but I mean, I'm my personal satisfaction with my life is complete.
It is complete now.
It's complete
You
right
feel
now.
complete
I
now.
feel complete, and if I was called home right now, it would be okay.
Complete, but there's nothing more you want to do, but you want to do your healing work.
I am available at their pleasure to do the work.
Right. Well, you're doing the work of the cosmos, and both of you.
Right.
So how did you get to be on the road? You read about Kaya Kalpa, and you went to India. How do you actually find an Immortal Siddha? Is there like a map like the Hollywood?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a star map? Like,
I know.
Yeah.
That's it.
There and,
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
No.
It's like, it's really hard to tell. I mean, I think that the depth of my love and sincerity to find healing for somebody that I dearly love, my wife, took me to places, and I found stuff, and then I knew that there was nothing more there for me, and I got a clue and went somewhere else and learned something else from somebody else, and that was done, and then I went somewhere else, and each time I just got, it seems closer and closer to, I mean, who knows? Somebody says, well, somebody's going to do a talk, and how many times do you get invited and how many times do you go? Right. And I got called to a talk once in which I tried to leave probably 10 times.
Right.
And I felt these hands on my shoulder. I said, okay, all right, I'm waiting. The last 15 minutes, they showed a picture of an immortal in India, Maha Ananda Siddha. And I just went, oh, that's why they were holding me here.
Was that the first Immortal Siddha you had?
Had the opportunity to actually see, sit with, be close enough to touch.
Oh, you actually went and saw this person?
Many, 25, 30 times.
What's his name?
Maha Ananda Siddha.
And he's an immortal.
He is an immortal.
He is as long as he's alive, I guess. But.
Well, his body's 85, but he stopped eating, drinking, and sleeping in 2003. And he was a billionaire that walked away from his life and family and business and everything. And just being in his presence is a riveting. She was in his presence,
right? What's
too.
he like to be in with?
Well, he's very present. He's very intense and powerful. He doesn't teach. He just move around his body, associating with people just like another person. But you can feel his energy. I think the most profound moment is every year he will receive the Abhishekam. on April 13th.
Where they pour milk and
Water,
ghee.
coconut water. And I had an opportunity just standing right next to him as it just like this. Every time when the liquid poured onto his body, I was like, vibration was so strong. It was so powerful.
How did he get to that place?
Well, in his case, the story that I heard is that being a self-made, successful businessman, billionaire, for his whole life, he would reconstruct Shiva temples that had fallen down and fallen into disrepair. And it must have pleased Lord Shiva, because he appeared to him one day and told him that he was the 19th Siddha of the world, and to drop everything, go to the mountain, live in the cave, and feed and heal everybody that did to him, and he did it.
Wow.
So he was, I guess, selected for, who knows, his past life, his devotion, his selfless service. But there's lots of people that do that. So how does it, boil down to who gets to step through that door?
I guess wanting to. But how many Immortal Siddhas do we know of? Only 19, or is there like?
Well,
100?
yeah, I think there's different opinions about that, but those that have dissolved into light, I think there's actually thousands of them, because in Tibet it's called rainbow body.
Yeah, the Tibetans call it that, yes.
And in China it's called the golden light body.
I think in Egypt, did they call it like the Ra body, or becoming Osiris? So it is a tradition in many...
Exactly, which it gets back to what you said, that our species is hardwired for this journey.
For immortality.
For immortality.
Yeah. I was at the spot where Ramalinga in Pondicherry supposedly disappeared. This little square on the ground, and you step in there. I didn't feel that much, but Ramalinga obviously did. You've been to Ramalinga's place.
We were both at Swami Ramalinga's place. What did you feel?
It was very peaceful, like a very serene when you walk into the square. And I remember when I went to the door where they keep the door locked. That is the room where he beamed into light. So there's a very tiny gap between two sides of the door, and I was like putting my third eye there. What I smell is a very beautiful fragrance.
So there's all these Immortal Siddhas that are still exist, and they appear. I know Babaji appears to people. Have you met Babaji?
Haven't met Babaji, but Bhogar, I believe, appeared to me twice as a street beggar on the street near where I live. And like the woman that dissolved into light, I saw this street beggar, and I mean, he wasn't begging, he was just walking, but it definitely looked like he lived on the street. So I stopped, pulled out some money, rolled down the window, said, "Excuse me, may I give you some money?" And when he looked at me, he said, "Oh, no, thank you." But his eyes were not the eyes of a person living on the street. It was like the infinite expanse of the universe. And I got this filled with this just wonder and this appreciation. And as I was driving off, I said to myself, "Where are you going?" So I stopped my car, turned around, went back immediately, gone.
Wow.
And that happened twice to me.
Wow. I think that's a really good point. When you look at these beings who are on a higher level of consciousness, there's actually a transmission.
There is.
There's what the Tibetans also talk about, transmission of consciousness through the eyes from them to us, that helps raise our frequencies.
It does. And I believe that that's what these immortals, many of them, do for us. Some interactive with us, some through their medicine, like Navapashanam that comes from Bhogar.
Yeah, talk about Navapashanam.
Navapashanam is a Hindi term that means 9 poisons, and Bhogar made this formula out of herbs and minerals and made a statue of Lord Subramunya that got installed in a temple in a mountain in South India called Palani some 7,000 years ago.
People can go to that.
People can go to that, they can look at it, and sometimes you can even get the juice from the abhishekam they pour on it, which is medicine.
Right. But then what are these then?
This is all different kinds of Navapashanam that has come to me, to us, and it's when it's dipped into water, it energizes the water and it turns it into a medicine.
But these are herbal substances that have been
Coalesced into,
burned also, so they harden into...
I don't know if it's burned, but certainly the formula turns this semi-liquid herbal mass into a stone-like substance.
Right, and that's what you're wearing.
That's what I'm wearing, and that's what the statue in Palani and in Kodaikanal has these statues of Lord Subramunya made out of Navapashanam and Desapasanam.
But just wearing these stones, these herbal stones, also changes your frequency.
It changes the frequency. If I wear them too long, I start getting, sort of an overload that I can tell. It's a special kind of overload, so I have to take them off and kind of let my energy sort of recalibrate, and then I can wear them again.
So the two of you go to India, and what's your trips to India like?
Well, it's fascinating. There are many places we didn't plan to go, and it seems like it just opened up. For example, we were told to go to a certain mountain because the Siddha mountain is very powerful. And then when we went there, when we asked the priest, because what we saw is only a small temple, and asked him how to get to that Siddha mountain. Right. We really want to go there. He said, no, you cannot go, it's blocked. I said, no, we want to go, we can walk. No, he said, no, we cannot, you cannot walk. There's no way. If you walk, you need to walk for 6 to 9 hours. Right. No, it's too dangerous. And then we talked to him, we said, well, we really want to connect with Kakapushanka. When he heard this name, Kakapushanka, he was like, whoa, Kakapushanka. He was very surprised.
How did you know about Kakapushanka?
You want to talk about Kakapushanka?
My lineage, through my Swamiji, Chandrasekhar Anand, and his teacher, Bhoganathar, goes back to the lineage of a Shiva temple in the north of India. And this is one of the lineage guides, higher beings, and it's just an incredible connection. The priest ended up saying, Kakapushanka's temple, you can walk, it's 100 yards from here.
Oh.
And the statue was 7,000 years old.
And is it powerful, the statue?
Powerful.
So powerful that most, even the local people, can't go in.
They can't go in?
They can, but they can't.
They don't, it's too much for them?
They don't go in.
They don't go in?
They don't go. We were there twice and we saw 2 people.
I want to go. Where is that in India?
Outside of Salem, about 45 minutes.
Salem is where? Near
Not
Rishikesh?
too far from Pondicherry.
Oh, Pondicherry, on,
Yeah.
on the east coast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've been to Pondicherry.
Salem is inside
Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu.
Oh, I know Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is your teaching then for the world, your immortal yogi teaching? Because you've done all this research and had these personal experiences. How do you want to share that?
Well, we open up a line of products that people can easily access wherever they are in the world.
We're going to do a show all about these lines of product, but just as teaching, before we get to the product, what do you tell people as a teacher, as an embodiment of someone who's been on this path?
We do it through healing.
Ah, right.
And because healing, after all, is helping us to remove the emotional blocks on the 3 dimensions that have been accumulated. So when we're able to do this, then the persons can really tap into their heart. It's all go back to the love.
So what kind of healings do you do for people?
Helping people to remove trauma from the childbirth.
And how do you do that? With hands-on? I've seen you do some.
Yeah, we do like hands-on healing, and sometimes some technique is like a light interactive hypnosis.
Oh.
Take them to that time, the time where they accumulate the suffering and the fear from the trauma, and then remove it so that they can be new again.
And how do you remove it from them?
We usually in tune the higher power.
Oh.
The work that we do is beyond the power that you see here in the 3D body.
Nice.
That will be more powerful, because I always tell my clients, guess who is more powerful, the higher power or this body? When I step away, allow the ego to step away and allow them to come down and do the magic.
Beautiful.
So people say to me often, so much of your energy I felt. And I go, It wasn't me.
Uh,
You know, they asked me, are you tired? So much of your energy came through. And I go, actually, no, I feel kind of happy and like a little boy, and I'm just sort of joyful. They don't necessarily get that, you know, the law of grace coming through me or coming through us for that particular person.
the law of grace.
The
Actually,
law
I've
of
heard you
grace.
talk about that. Is that the type of healing you call your work, the law of grace?
It is an awakening, an initiation that happens. And each individual that gets the awakening or the initiation can immediately start plugging in and giving the healing.
Oh, so you do this on people and they can start.
They can start.
Well, if people want to find a place where you are and how they can do it in Los Angeles, where would they go look online?
Yeah, they look at a new alchemy,
Mm-hmm.
ANUALCHEMY.com events.
So if we're going to leave people with a sense of like what they can do to start to achieve the immortal consciousness, because it's a consciousness, and then the body transforms, vibrates to the consciousness,
It does.
where do they start to look? Where do we start to do? Help us.
I will recommend
Yeah.
to try a few alchemy,
Oh,
especially the Siddha medicine, because it's very, very tiny drop that they put on the forehead or third eye or different chakras that they can really experience the power of the immortal yogi.
Waking up within them.
the power of the immortal yoga waking up in us.
Right, because you are already that you seek.
I'm already an immortal yogi.
You already are. You just,
I-
we
I
just,
just wasn't wearing the
to
right.
some degree or another, are believing or are clogged up by emotional debris.
Right. Okay. Well, who isn't?
Exactly. That's the whole point. So it's my belief that these that have stepped through the veil, into the light while they're alive, have cleared their emotional baggage to a huge degree.
How did they do that?
That's exactly right.
How?
Well, it's a lot of practice, and also in the old days, the society was less complicated, right? Life was way simple back then.
Right.
What they do was meditate, connect with the higher power all day. How many people in the modern world can do that? So sometimes we need a little bit tools.
Yes,
help
we
us.
need tools. Yes.
Yeah.
So the wisdom you'd like to leave people with.
The wisdom that we'd like to leave people with is that love and living in your heart is really the key. It's the key, and following your heart, is that's where we can go beyond what we understand and know. And that's where the magic really lives, is going beyond the mind with the heart.
Nice. So you guys are in your hearts, traveling the world, and just.
Actually, we're in our hearts more of the time than we're not.
And occasionally have times of not being in your heart.
So that's when we trigger each other, and then very quickly we can come back to, oh, okay, wait, I'm sorry, that's my stuff. Let me take a look at it. Let me see what it is now, what layer is ready to come off, and thank you. Thank you for triggering me. Thank
Actually,
you.
we're going to do a whole program on that triggering
Yes,
relationship
good,
and what
good,
makes
good.
a divine relationship. Thank you for your research, because it's unique going out there and discovering the immortals that everyone should know really exists. Do you want to list just a few more of the immortals?
Well, we talked about Swami Ramalinga.
Right, love that guy.
We talked about Mayamma.
I want to add something about Mayamma.
Oh, tell me about Mayamma.
She's an amazing healer.
How do you know that? You didn't meet her.
Well, I didn't meet her, but when I sat in her samadhi, I had conversation with her. Remember I talked about she was so loud?
I know. I've sat by samadhis and had Shirdi.
Shirdi
Yeah.
Sai Baba.
Yeah, Shirdi was really funny. Very funny. But anyway, so what happened with you?
So, and then at first, she told me how, I talked to her about the healing because she's an amazing healer. So then she told me about how to do healing with people. And then later on, I asked her, is my personal story. And I asked her, okay, I have fibroid. Would you help me? So my fibroid was very big. My OBGYN suggested me to have surgery. I said, no, let me wait.
Right.
So while I was sitting there meditating, after I asked, I felt something in me. And then I just let it go. Then guess what? A few days later, when I was laying down, I touched. I couldn't feel anything.
So your fibroid dissolved
Gone.
with the help of
Mayamma.
That's why we want to tell people the Immortal Yogi is available and they love to help people.
So how do we call on the Immortal Yogis?
That's why earlier I said the medicine can take you back to the connection with the Immortal Yogi specifically.
Or get a picture of one and just reach out to them. You know, like you've got your cell phone in your hand, and just talk to them. You know, on the south tip of India, there's a temple, and when the tsunami came in 2004, the water stayed right on the shore, 1 mile either side of this temple.
Wow.
And outside of that 1 mile, the tsunami washed inland 5 miles and flattened everything. And next to the temple, there's 3 Jeeva Samadhi sites. And they are incredibly powerful. There's another Immortal Siddha, I can't tell you the name right now, but he took Jeeva Samadhi, he bilocated in 2 locations where he spent a lot of time, one in Pakistan, one in India, and dissolved into light in both places simultaneously. I mean, these guys are really characters.
Yes.
Really, and he lived over 1,000 years in his body before he dissolved into light.
Really? What years were those?
Like around 900 to 1,000 to, I think that, or just recently, like in the last 20 years, I think he dissolved into light.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A lot of really funny stories about some of these guys.
So they're here for us to help assist humanity at this time. And you guys are like pioneers, bridges to these worlds, to these beings, because most of them are just in a cave in India. No, but they were here to become available, but of course they couldn't be out in public because, first of all, people wouldn't understand it, and they need bridges like you to bring that message to the world.
I guess that's what happened. I mean, it was the last thing I set out to do. I mean, my journey was one of love to find healing for my wife, and along the way, something else just sort of opened up, and I got asked, would you bring our medicine to the West? And I just said, all right. I didn't even know what I was signing up for.
Right. Who asked you to bring the medicine to the
Bhogar.
Bhogar himself.
Yeah.
In an inner meditation. So how are you changed by all this? Who were you before and who are you now?
You want to tell?
Go ahead.
No, you're an
Well,
observer.
before would be better for you to say it, huh? Right?
Yeah, but she didn't know you before.
I don't know. I was probably, sort of a quadruple type A personality. And my opinion is what everybody did around me, or else you left.
Right, you started these big businesses, you made a lot of money.
I did, and I had a lot of good ideas, and my mental health business touched thousands and thousands and thousands of people that would normally not have had access to mental health services. We started programs inside, employee assistance programs inside of many, many corporations, still have those running today. And I don't know, I just noticed that my interaction with people was, let's just say, less honey and probably more abrasive than I wanted.
So this journey has
Softened my interaction, caused me to be more patient and to consider other people's views about how to get from A to B, even if it's going to C and then back to B. Sometimes I just let it happen more.
you allow.
I allow stuff to happen around me, and I listen. I've learned to listen.
Has he learned to listen?
Yes, I have to say that.
And how is he different to you in this journey that you've been on?
It is quite impressive, I have to say. For a macho man who has a very successful business,
Right.
because of love and commitment, he's willing to listen to me and really go internally and integrate the information that he may feel kind of foreign in the beginning,
Right.
but then he will just tap in and slowly adjust himself. Sometimes he may not.
He resists.
Yeah, sometimes. So it depends on what it is. But I think the bottom line is he's willing to listen and go in.
Because you're the divine feminine.
Thank you.
The feminine knows, right? The world is made of the mother. Thank you both
Thank you, Alan.
for your time and your work and your giving back to humanity to bring more love.
Alan, you're a prince, Alan.
I'm getting used to that. I'm trying to. Thank you, Ron. Ron Swaha, Ron Holman, and Divojananda. And how can people get a hold of you?
ANUALCHEMY.com.
You can find me at newrealities.com. Thanks for watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And stay tuned for more programs with Swaha and Divojananda.
Okay.